Oh ho buddies, welcome to Borderline Games. I'm Gareth and today we're playing Chaos Head. We are right outside Noah the Second, or Noah 2. We're about to try and save Remy, but Nerose has stepped forward and he's going to tell us exactly what he's seeking. Go ahead Nerose, what is it you're seeking? What I seek is something else. I once came to a realization. To breathe life into this diseased world, it is not the system governing society that requires changing. It is the hearts of all mankind. Why has he got teeth like a vampire or a werewolf? Thus, Project Noah came to be. Through Noah II, the hearts of all men throughout the world will be bleached clean of their detective delusions are effaced. Oh, I see. Bleached clean as their negative delusions are effaced. Conflict will be no more. The world will see eternal peace. Even someone such as yourself will no longer face disdain. Finally, his novel-length monologue came to a close. My body was on the verge of collapse, but I desperately planted my feet. At least I'd gotten a bit of a break. That was the only reason I was still standing. What you're saying is probably right. I hadn't really been paying much attention. But in regards to the future of humanity, he was definitely right. His ideals were entirely righteous. He was the president of a sprawling corporation and his eye was aimed solely on justice for the whole of mankind. Me, meanwhile, I was a monster. A virgin, which is pretty much the same thing. An otaku freak. A selfish, ego-driven wannabe who just wanted to save some girl he liked and didn't give a shit about anyone else. Normally that would make me the bad guy through and through. The monster would then be slain, justice would prevail. Justice would prevail. But I'm not gonna lose to you. Why do you deny what is strictly in front of you? Just for my own self-satisfaction. My, how unfortunate that is. His gaze locked onto me. Nerose grabbed Remy by the collar and threw her off the art piece. Quote unquote. Ah! His right hand then stretched out in front of it. Oh, look at him with his sword. And in that ephemeral moment. And in that ephemeral moment, the once standing art piece found itself in Nerose's hand. It was no mere art piece, nor was it a cross that existed for crucifixion. What's in the center there? It was a D-sword. It was far too monstrous to be called a sword. Savagery. Gelidity. That which sowed tear. Sorry. That which sowed terror. Okay, what's going on with my eyes? A contaminated gospel. Chaos. Thoroughly complexified. A blasphemy with which to desecrate. The purest of evils. Akin to the very gates of hell themselves, the hearts of those who gazed upon it would be wrenched away, luring them into an eternal eon of strife. Aeon? Eon. All that was negative in this world converged into one, embodying its very shape. I gulped back all the saliva that had built up in my throat. Despite everything, I made up my mind. I fixed my grip on my D-sword, which was still bound to my hand with the cord, and then I took a single step forward toward Noah II. Noah 2. Should I be just calling it Noah 2? Or more accurately speaking, I began to close the distance between Nerose and myself. Speaking of distance, he had an overwhelming advantage in range over me. Okay. Oh, I wouldn't be saying this, would I? I don't find myself proficient in barbarous activities, especially when it comes to crossing swords. Nevertheless, I must obtain your code sample, and for me to meet that end, you must be incapacitated. Towering over me with one hand, Nerose swung a D-sword even bigger than he was. His strike was so heavy, it felt as if it could have pulverized any known object out there. My arm was slow to respond. Even moving it slightly made pain explode through it. Even still, I forced it to do so, and raised my arm. I caught the blow with my D-sword. Any normal sword would have been split right in two. And that wasn't even accounting for how unbelievably thin my sword was. It couldn't have been more different than from the Rose's. And yet my D-sword didn't break. Somehow I'd managed to parry Nerose's first strike. My hand went numb. With my left hand pulverized, my balance on that side was non-existent. The stance I'd been holding collapsed. By the looks of it, he was about to send me flying. I just had to endure it. I connected with Nerose's second blow. His recovery between strikes was way too fast. Don't be misled by how this sword looks. Oh, I see. That was what I told myself. Because, you know, these swords pretty much don't weigh anything. It was a battle of strength between a sword that was far too thin and delicate and a sword that was far too colossal and ferocious. Somehow I was holding out with it, at least for the moment. What's going on? 4 times now. 4 times had our blades crossed, but this time the position of Nerose's hands began to change. It looked like he was clutching the guard of the sword now. And then his sword began to writhe, letting out an eerie noise. Its malleable mechanisms groaned. I'm not tired. I'm perfectly wide awake. How come? Sometimes, like, you know, words that you clearly read, no problem. Suddenly my mouth can't work out how to say them. So funny. My blade's edge then split in two, opening into a case in point, opening into a pair of scissors that was then thrust toward my very chest. Uh-oh, he's got scissors. That alteration, right then I came to realize it would mean the end of me. I countered, swinging my sword down in front of me. But I was too late. Alright, we've been cut in half. Its forked point sank straight into my chest. Ugh. A callous smile formed on Nerose's lips. He loosened his grasp on the guard. And the colossal scissors snapped shut. Gah! My chest, my ribs and my lungs were all devoured. I desperately stumbled back. And right when I did that, Nerose swept his arms straight across. My own fresh blood danced before my eyes. Pain spiked throughout my entire body. Even though my senses were supposed to have been numbed, I was on the verge of screaming out with whatever remained of my lungs. But even so, I clenched my teeth and endured it. My chest had been thoroughly minced. If not for stepping back when I did, he would have hit my heart. Massive quantities of blood continued to spray out. Gah! Gah! I nearly toppled over, but I caught myself at the last second. I can't die here. I didn't come this far just to die. I ignored Nerose. Instead of him, I approached Noah the Second and Rimi, the latter of which was collapsed on the ground. It took every fibre of my being, but I did it all the same. Taku. Raising her head from the ground, Rimi looked in my direction. She was likely exhausted, There was no way her body had any strength left. As fatigue, or maybe just my injuries, continued to wear me down, my vision grew blurrier. I wasn't sure what sort of face Remy was making as she looked at me. I didn't meet her gaze. I couldn't bear for her to see me like this, bloody and beaten to a pulp. That was the sole, minuscule bit of pride I had left. Even on my deathbed, that was where I drew the line. I advanced towards Nova II. My D-sword was already within range. Oddly enough, Nerose stayed behind me, ignoring that I was leaving him behind. Oh, okay. All of a sudden, a cheery melody began to ring throughout the dome. You may pass. Nova II towered over me. The sound emanating from it became even more shrill. Deep within all its majesty, I sensed something incredibly strange and enigmatic moving around. For a split second, I flinched. Albeit slowly, I managed to take a stance with the blade at my hip. I aimed toward Nova II's nearly organic-looking tube-covered exterior and bulldozed it with my D-sword. Is it going to be a delusion? It's going to be Remy. That was when I noticed. At some point or another, Nova II had vanished from my sight, and now, somehow, I was standing with my back to it. I knew for a fact that I'd just been trying to destroy it. There wasn't a single damn reason for me to have turned around. And yet that was the direction I was facing. In the very centre of my blurred vision, Nerose was the one standing there. Not Nova II. I turned myself around, swinging my D-sword at it for a second time. Except even though I'd fully intended to turn around, I hadn't. I had the will to turn myself around, and I'd even made the motion to do so. And yet the end result was one where I hadn't actually turned around. I was hit with a wave of utter confusion. One might call it Nova II's self-defense system. Nerose's quiet voice resounded from within the dome, pooling and mixing together with the melody of You May Pass. It interferes with the hearts of those who approach it, distorting their wills. With the exception of myself, none may approach Nova II. When he finished speaking, he leisurely walked closer to me. Then, as if it was the easiest thing in the world, he raised the colossal D-sword above his head. I clenched my teeth. I'd lost a lot of blood. I couldn't think clearly. Even though I didn't have the slightest bit of sensation in my right hand, I shoved the pain and the fact that I couldn't move it properly aside and lifted it up in a desperate attempt to deflect the next blow. And then the D-sword that had somehow still remained attached to my hand with the cord was sent flying by a staggering impact. It tumbled across the floor, far, far away from me. It was astonishing seeing it off. Fixing my gaze back in front of me, I was met with Nerose's sneering figure. And then, as if in warning, as if to urge my mind forward, the melody changed. Allow me to deny your existence. Nerose's stance told me he was already prepared to strike again. He was about to bring that sword crashing down on me. It was all too overwhelming. All too devastating. All too brutal. That was his D-sword. And it was coming down on me while I was completely unarmed. I had no way of stopping his strike. I was a sitting duck. There we go. No! Remy forced her way between Nerose and me. Her soft touch enveloped my face. Don't kill Taku. I felt Remy's chest. She'd wrapped her arms around me, almost like a tender embrace. She was protecting me from Nerose. Nerose sighed quietly, lowering his sword. Remy had saved me once again. Even though I'd told her I was here to save her. How fucking pathetic was that? Hit with a wave of intense frustration, I slithered my right hand onto her body and thrust it inside her blouse. Okay. I guess we're doing this. Taku. I felt the sensation of the coarse, warm underwear lying atop her skin. Then I felt the pain of the gashes in my chest, and the pain of my amputated left hand, and the pain of my dislocated right arm. Then the pain of my dysfunctional lungs as I struggled to breathe. Oh, he's going to try and distract himself. He's going to try and distract himself from the pain in order to delude himself into healing himself? Is that what's happening? I mean, fine, but it's still weird. But the warmth I felt now, surely it could heal all of it. Remy's underwear, Remy's bare skin. What are you? I tore off the buttons on her blouse. I ripped away the clothing that was keeping her body hidden away from me. What the fuck is happening here? Chunsoft. I exposed her bra. Taku, stop! I grabbed her tightly, right through her bra, reaching her ample breasts. With my blood-smeared right hand, I squeezed her. I rubbed her body with my blood. Her bra, her bare skin. I felt its elasticity. Such soft, tender skin. No! Remy writhed around in an attempt to escape. I grabbed her tightly and didn't let her go. I plunged my face into her breasts. Her skin was so velvety, so comfortable, it was as if it was drawing me in. Then with my free right hand, I began to grope beneath her skirt. This is gross. Stop. Stop it, Taku. This isn't what I want. With a gasp, I got off of her. When I realised that what I'd been trying to do, I was genuinely shocked. Even though I'd gotten off of her, Remy tightly clutched her chest and continued to sob sadly. But she'd been protecting me. Why had I done that? Why the hell had I done that? Especially at a time like this. Why was I the one making Remy cry? Oh my god. Truth is, you wanna... should I say that? I don't think I should say that. R word. Rakihata Simi. Remy, don't you? My own voice echoed within my mind. Shocked, I swallowed back my saliva. What was so shocking to me? The fact that he was right. Because he'd seen through me. But who was he to begin with? It was my own voice. My inner voice. My true nature? I think he's controlling me. I can't be. That's not Takumi. Pass up on making yours here and Shogun's gonna cook you. You really want that wrinkly old shit to fuck her silly? You don't want to be a cook, do you? Then again, there's nothing saying he hasn't fucked her already. My true nature continued whispering to me. Stop it. Stop saying this shit. I don't believe a single word you're saying. I couldn't cover my ears even if I wanted to, considering my lack of a left hand. Remy was just lying there sobbing, unable to fix her messy clothes. Just seeing her face like that shattered my heart. And don't give me any of that hollow ass "it's okay if she doesn't love me back" bullshit. Go on. Oh, hang on, this face. I'm pretty sure we've seen this face. Is this actually supposed... This is supposed to be Takumi, isn't it? I just realised I thought that it was actually, Narose. Go on. Her already. Narose doesn't seem to take issue with sparing the time to let you at her. Besides, I'm about to die anyway. Who gives a rat's ass if she holds a grudge? I say, die doing what I want for a change. Just indulge in some of the forbidden fruit. Then when they understand how fucking pathetic my circumstances are, they'll go, oh well, it only makes sense, and let me off the hook. It was just a delusion. Something that was a bad habit of mine. Things could take a turn for the worse if I didn't stop listening. The current would drag me away. My weak-minded nature was luring me to the path of least resistance, toward a really bad path, but I couldn't let it drag me away, not now. What's more, Remy actually sympathized with me. If that's not a green light to fuck our brains out, what the fuck is? Ugh, God. Toss aside your V-car before you die. No way in hell! Well done, Takumi, even though that is fucking weird. To shatter her weak mind, to blow it straight to hell. I screamed to shatter my weak mind, to blow it straight to hell. Okay, cool, we did it. Luckily, it seemed to have worked. Remy had even stopped crying. She lowered the hands covering her face, and then she glared at me with ice-cold eyes. You're such a bore. Those few words were all it took for my mind to be swallowed by a cascade of dark emotions. Ah! Ah! And as I swung myself at Remy, with staggering force, an enormous stake burst straight up from the concrete floor. The sharp edge of the stake pierced straight into my crotch. That's what you get. That's what you get. Ugh. Ugh. I couldn't comprehend what was going on. My legs were floating in the air. Even if I wanted to run away, I couldn't. The stake gradually tore its way farther and farther into my body. It was excruciatingly painful, but not enough to kill me. The stake continued to grow, lifting me a whole meter into the air. Any form of movement sent a jolt of pain through my groin. I was completely unable to move. Ugh! Ugh! Someone save me. I cast my pleading eyes down toward Remy. But without even looking at me, she walked straight to Nerose's side. Then, as if exhausted of all strength, she crouched to the ground. Both Nerose and Remy simply stared at me, at the mortifying display. Neither of them had any form of expression as they watched. Neither of them had any interest in saving me. I'm curious as to if you're aware of this. Is this Remy talking? Or maybe this is Nerose. Impalement was once a common form of torturous punishment all throughout the world. A particular characteristic of this torture is that death can take up to 3 days to arrive once it begins. Your own weight will gradually allow the stake to sink deeper into your body. To meet this end, it is essential to make use of the stake that isn't overly sharp. I see. Thereby reducing injury to your internal organs and lengthening the period until your death. Ultimately, the execution is brought to an end once the stake pierces through your mouth or shoulder. I'll be supervising this with bated breath for all 3 days. Until the moment you perish. It seems she feels the same. Remy nodded in response to his words. Although it would seem far more likely for you to die of blood loss given the wounds adorning your arms and chest. It's a delusion. A delusional attack. That's what I told myself. In reality, I wasn't really impaled. I was still just standing in front of Noah II. I was only hallucinating. I believed that to be true. I had to believe it. 3 days. 72 hours. 4,320 minutes. 259,200 seconds. If I can endure it for that long, the delusion will end. It has to. If I just sleep for a bit or pass out, it'll go by a lot quicker. Those were my thoughts. But I couldn't do either of those things. The pain wouldn't let me. And that was exactly what made this such pure, unrelenting torture. I was going to go insane if this went on. Even though only a moment ago I'd been thinking about trying to endure it, I'd spiraled straight into despair. Considering the extreme amount of time left before my death, despair was the sole emotion that hadn't drained directly out of me. Just kill me already. How much time had passed? I didn't see a clock, so I had no clue. I wanted to see a clock, but I knew that if I did see one, the hands sluggishly ticking by would probably shatter my spirit completely. I clenched my teeth. Sweat was oozing off my body in droves. Thanks to that, my throat had gone dry. I moistened it by swallowing the blood that was trickling in. Inside my body, I could feel the stake continuously shoving inside my internal organs as it wedged itself even deeper into me. I could feel it very clearly, like a countdown to my inevitable death. Soon enough, it arrived at my minced chest. After that, it pierced through my throat. It skewered me straight through the mouth. Gah! Ugh! The pain and shock was pushing my sanity to its limits. The pain kept me in a 5-minute cycle of passing out, waking up, then passing out. Again. I came to understand something. Every time I fainted, my body would go limp and the stake dug into me even faster. Naturally, the pain grew to incomparable levels when that happened. Then it would wake me back up. Unable to move, my body would writhe in torment. Then I'd pass out again to escape the pain, and the gruesome cycle would repeat itself. Even when I was conscious, I was entirely in a daze. It seemed the pain had somehow faded a little too. My vision had gone dim. Was it night time? Not that it mattered, considering the lack of windows in the dome. I supposed it was probably because of how much blood I'd lost. Blood trickled from my chest and arms, albeit not a whole lot. If it kept dripping out, maybe I could die peacefully from that, instead of being impaled. Oh god, sorry about that. Realizing that, I attempted to swing around my left arm, hardly any of which remained below the elbow. But it didn't even twitch. No doubt my nerves were already dead. What's interesting choice of last final words. Was it really a delusion? When was it going to end? Would it ever actually end? What had made me believe it was a delusion to begin with? How could I know if it was a delusion? What if it was all reality? If I endured it, I'd just die anyway. Enduring it didn't mean shit. But I was enduring it anyway? That was stupid. Only a dumbass would do that. I was an idiot. Die. Not the, haha, kill yourself kind. No, actually fucking die. I should die right now. I was sick of all the pain. I was sick of all the suffering. Bite your tongue off. Do that and you'll be at peace soon after. Just let me out of here. This was all a delusion, right? Die, 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 it hurts, die, 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 it hurts, die, die! My chest continued to hemorrhage. I couldn't breathe. No matter how much oxygen I tried to suck in, my throat would only make a stupid wheezing sound. I looked down only to be met with the stake peeking through the holes in my chest. Struggling for oxygen as my mouth flapped open and shut, I violently vomited out blood. The fact I was about to die brought me peace of mind. Any moment now, I believe. Oh, it was Nerose's voice. The bastard was right in front of me. But I couldn't see him. In fact, I couldn't see a thing. Being impaled had left me in so much agony for so long that I'd completely forgotten about both him and Remy. I couldn't help but wonder if Remy was still close by, though it didn't really matter. I was too occupied with trying to breathe. For a good while now, I'd been dedicating every nerve and every last ounce of strength toward just doing that. Before you safely pass on to the next world, allow me to dispose of the girl. I wasn't exactly sure what he was talking about, nor did I have the chance to think about it. You're going to kill me? Indeed. That is what I plan. Do you have any last words? Oh, I see, this is Remy. I'm sorry, Taku. I couldn't save you. Ah! I heard Remy's final scream, then the sound of someone toppling over. I imagined that Remy had just been shot and killed. I didn't feel a single pang of emotion. Something else took priority. I returned to working on breathing. And then I felt shock at how I'd done that. What was the meaning in any of this? Why did I struggle so hard to keep on breathing? Wasn't it just too much? Something hot streamed down my cheeks. I was probably crying, but there wasn't any way to be sure of that. I tried my best to endure everything that I had dealt with so far, but so close to the 3-day limit. The meaning of doing so had been entirely lost. I'm sorry, Remy. I should be the one to apologize. I couldn't protect you. There wasn't any point in living anymore. I let my body go limp. The weight of that caused my body to sink even deeper. I felt a foreign object working its way up to my throat. Breathing became impossible. Something was driving itself up through me. Gah! I came back to my senses. The feeling of a foreign object in my throat disappeared. I wasn't impaled anymore. The only blood on me was from my left arm and my chest. When did reality end and the delusion begin? My brain couldn't begin to process it fast enough. I didn't understand a thing about the situation. In front of me was Narose, D-sword raised. And we'll get back to the fight with Narose next time on Borderline Games. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Chaos Head, and I will see you next time. Have a great evening. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye. Bye-bye-bye-bye-bye-bye.